All right, friends, it's my running friends. It's T, and I'm back with another video on running part 2 because I did one where I was talking, but I'm gonna do an investigated kind of report, and we're just gonna talk about this running faster stuff. And I'll get more into detail. I'm gonna bring up this report. It's from PubMed. Okay, it's called "Effects of Stride Length on Symptoms of Exercise-Induced Muscle Damage During What? A repeated bout of downhill running." A repeated bout. Well, yeah, I mean, that's, we know in the repeated bout effect phenomena, with a repeated bout, there's no more damage. Well, let's hear what they have to say about a repeated bout running downhill. The purpose of this study was to assess the effects of changes in stride length on the symptoms of exercise-induced muscle damage, EIMD. During a repeated bout of downhill running in a group of 18 men and women. Wow, that's going to be scary, man. Here's the thing. If you were unaccustomed to running this hill running downhill, you as a sprinter, I'll explain this. So you as a sprinter, you want to get faster, right? But the problem is there's a braking motion. You're braking going down the hill. Okay, you're running flat and fast, okay? So what happens is your body starts to run faster and faster and faster. By the time you get to the finish line in 100 meters, for some reason you're braking. When you get to the finish line, you start braking. That's why you want to go faster, but your body is doing it automatically. It's a reflex. You're braking because of the velocity. Okay, but you want to be faster, so you want to overcome that velocity. Okay, so they say here, they talk about velocity here down the bottom somewhere. They must talk about it, okay? I haven't read this yet. I just looked for it and I brought it up. I'm gonna do it with you. But they must say it here somewhere. There must be something about velocity. Hold on. Stride length. It's got to be in this report. There it is, right there, down at the bottom. All right, results suggest that the symptoms of exercise-induced muscle damage are unaffected by gender and small alterations to the normal stride pattern during constant velocity downhill running. Remember, the velocity is going to pick up anything that goes against gravity, or going downhill or going in the opposite direction down, the eccentric movement going down. The velocity is going to move extremely fast as opposed to moving up, the up direction, up a hill or something. That just exhausts you. That has nothing to do with muscle damage. So when they're talking about running downhill, they're talking about muscle damage. That's why they're talking about this exercise-induced muscle damage. That's what we're looking for. The concentric movement, running uphill, running up stairwells and stuff, do not cause muscle damage. Anything in the opposite direction, the eccentric movement, the bottom portion, like jumping off off a stairwell, a stage, or jumping off a chair onto the floor, there's more velocity involved. So these jumping motions, you want to do a lot of them. Why do you want to jump? You can jump up and down in the air. That helps as well, jumping up and down, up and down. But also just doing the eccentric portion, like climbing up on top of a chair and then jumping on the floor. And eventually you want to climb higher because your legs will adapt. What happens? Look, you want to jump as many times as you can so that you can get this damage in the legs and the muscle fibers. It's a different type of adaptation. Doing the eccentric part, jumping from a chair, eventually it'll adapt by repairing and remodeling stronger. It won't damage again jumping off the chair. So you're gonna have to keep striving to go higher. So you're gonna have to keep jumping higher and higher and higher. That's what you're going to have to do. Now, you don't want to injure yourself or damage yourself. That's the point. So when you're doing these jumping exercises, climbing up and jumping onto the ground, doing as many sets, reps that you can, that's what you're looking for. And then you'll go through a repair and a remodeling stage for a couple of days. If you got this damage, if you did it properly and you got this damage. So that's one way you can get adaptations for running faster, is jumping from the top to the bottom. Yeah, you can do both. You can jump up and down if you like. You can jump on the top of a stairwell, try to jump up to leap. You could leap up on something, I don't know, a box or something. You can try leaping. But the more important is the jumping part down is more important when it comes to man, when it comes to speed running, you being faster and stuff like that. It's not you jumping up jumping onto a box. That just makes you better at jumping up on top of a box. But if you want to be a faster runner, it's the eccentric portion that's going to cause the damage and repair your muscles bigger and stronger, and now they'll be resilient from further assaults. So you have to jump higher. You have to jump down from a higher elevation to the ground, because you're going to be a lot stronger. You're going to be stronger, faster, a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, so that's one way of doing it. Now, another way is running down a hill. You know, these like different degrees of the hill. Start with a hill that's moderately steep, and then once you adapt to it, you run a couple of sets. You do a couple of sets, whatever, running down this hill. You get this damage in your legs. You know, it's going to go through repair and a remodel in the next couple of days, but it'll never work with a repeated bout. That's the problem when you run down that hill. So you have to keep going for a steeper elevation. So you go for the next steeper elevation. Then you run that like crazy. Then it repairs and remodels and adapts. There's no more adaptations there. Then you go steeper, as steep as you could go. That's it, really. That's all you could really do. Now, can you combine gyms with running? Yeah, you could do that. You can combine it with a gym, okay? Definitely you can combine running with going to a gym. But like I said, you're going to run out of these adaptations eventually. You'll be tapped out. You'll be tapped out. So you can't use a gym to get some more adaptations, because it's an unaccustomed bout of exercise is what you're looking for. You're unaccustomed to doing these lifts in a gym. Your legs are not used to doing them. That'll be an adaptation process as well, like squatting or doing leg presses or whatever you're doing there. Hack squats, leg press, fucking, yeah, in a gym. That would give you another adaptation. You understand me? Will it help you in running? Yeah, everything helps you when it's the eccentric exercise, muscle damage. We're trying to build more type 2 muscle fibers and get a donation of these nuclei. The nuclei are what enhance your performance. They will enhance your performance. The more that you can accumulate doing more unaccustomed exercises, the faster you shall become. Now, now that you've run downhill and you've tapped out of all these adaptations by going steeper and steeper and steeper, right? Doing a lot of sets and reps. When you come to do that, when you go back to run flat and fast, you're going to be the fastest runner in the world, dude, because your legs aren't going to stop at the finish line. You're going to keep going. You're going to be able to keep going. Your body's not going to try to stop you, because that's a stopping motion. That's the problem with downhill running. There's a stopping motion. Look, I'll explain this. So this is what it looks like when you get these fibers when they get damaged. So what happens here? Well, you get regenerative muscle fibers. Okay, so the trauma, there's trauma to the muscle fiber, self-renewal trauma. The progenitor cell is activated through this trauma, this damage. And then there's chemotaxia to injured muscle fibers. So there is a fusion to the damaged myofibers. These cells that are activated, the progenitor cells, they fuse to those damaged muscle fibers. That's what happens. There it says they're hyperplasia. Without hyperplasia, you cannot have hypertrophy. It's impossible. The first thing that happens is hyperplasia, then there's hypertrophy. That's how muscles are grown. They call that regenerated myofiber with central nuclei. Myonuclei. It says there, quiescent progenitor cell. Myonuclei, that's what they do. They enhance your performance. That's what it looks like. And I don't know what else is there to talk about here. They talk about running here too as well. Effects of unaccustomed downhill running. The effects of that's what we're looking for. We're looking for unaccustomed downhill running. So with every steep run that you do, for every run that's steeper, gets steeper and steeper, you're unaccustomed to it. But eventually you'll become accustomed and you'll run out of adaptations. There will be zero muscle growth. So the effects of unaccustomed downhill running on muscle damage, oxidative stress, and whatever, whatever apoptosis, that's not important. So they talk about stuff here: moderate trained male subjects, 4 and 40 minimum, treadmill runs. Treadmill is not good for you. I wouldn't do any treadmilling. Do it naturally. In the introduction, they explain to you exercise is a form of physiological stress that has a marked effect on the immune system. It does, because stress is very bad for you. An increase in the number of immune cells is observed with the performance of high intensity exercise. It is. You want to know why? Because it's bad for you. When exercise ends, leukocyte subsets show monocyclone whatever behavior. I can't even pronounce these words. Lymphocytes decrease rapidly to a level well below the pre-exercise value, whereas granule whatever retain increase whatever several hours. Blah, 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 blah. This shit's not important, but the stress part here is important. That's what exercise causes, stress. That's why exercise is not good for you, but whatever. Repetitive eccentric muscle contractions overstretch and disrupt sarcomeres. That's what happens when you're running. That's what happens in gyms and running when you lift or move something in the eccentric portion of that movement. So it causes stretch and it causes a disruption in the sarcomeres, which can spread to adjacent areas, including the sarcoplasmic reticulum. It can stretch out to the sarcoplasmic reticulum, and that's where people eat. They eat these fake carbohydrate diets, and then they load the sarcoplasm gets massive, which you don't want that. You'll be carrying extra weight. Now it is an energy source, and it's going to start filling up there. It's going to start filling up. You don't want that. You want to run off animal fat. Really, you want to run off animal fat. That's a training. If you've been eating a fake diet, a slave diet, this is going to be really hard for you to adjust to a natural diet because you've been on drugs all your life. The cascade activates proteolytic pathways related to muscle fiber degradation. Yeah, there's a degradation and a consequent increase in muscle damage. Yeah, there's an increase in muscle damage. That's what happens. The symptoms of exercise-induced muscle damage includes delayed onset muscle soreness. That's going to happen the next day, and it should technically last for 4 days. That means you really got a good damaging session if it lasts for the first 4 days. Muscle malfunctioning. Yeah, muscles are going to malfunction, and increases in muscle proteins such as creatine kinase and troponin in the circulation. Unaccustomed downhill running is known to induce more muscle damage compared to uphill or level runs. Level runs meaning flat and fast or uphill. That's why this is going to make you the fastest person in the world, because I don't know any runners that are doing this. A causative role for eccentric exercise-induced muscle damage is ascribed to the mechanical stress that occurs when muscles lengthen and generate brake force. Listen to what they say. Generate brake force upon foot strike to maintain balance against gravity. So that is the problem why people can't pass a certain level of speed running flat and fast, because what happens is they generate brake force upon foot strike because they need to maintain balance against what? Gravity. So that's why you see these people leap at the finish line. They try to cheat by leaping because they can't move any faster, because they're not used, they don't have enough force to go against that velocity. They don't have enough force or power to overcome that velocity. The velocity is faster than the strength in their legs can keep up with, because they lose balance. Why? Because there's a braking motion there. You understand me? But you won't brake because you'll be faster, because you've overcome that running downhill in different degrees of running downhill. So even though exercise-induced muscle damage is associated with an increase in this blah, 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 apoptosis, peripheral mechanical exercise-induced muscle damage with changes, okay, hold on, brake force, yeah, whatever, we went over that. Connects exercise-induced muscle damage with changes in circulating immune system cells, yeah. These are not important. Eccentric exercise may produce free radicals not only by an enhanced rate of oxygen, These things are not important. We just want to get faster. So yeah, so it activates neutrophils and damage, muscle damage, which may be beneficial to muscle repair. The muscle damage, yeah, these things that are popping out, they are beneficial to the muscle repair, definitely. Muscles take about a week to repair and remodel. You need to be in a positive nitrogen balance. That means protein. You need to be anabolic, and that will make you even faster. When protein synthesis exceeds that breakdown in muscles, you'll be in an anabolic growth state, and you've converted the catabolic hormone to an androgen, so it doesn't have to compete with the myocytic androgen receptor, making you anabolic. That's going to make you even faster. Plus, you're going to get an influx of these myocytic androgen receptors. The receptors are going to help you with more force production. However, it may also trigger further inflammation processes and additional muscle damage, in part through an enhanced formation of uncontrolled free radicals. I don't know, man. This stuff is really not important. The other stuff was. Again, they're just talking about people. This is just one report. But anyways, that stuff is not important. And neither is this. I don't have to go through all of this with you, really, to tell you the truth. They're showing these people with runs. They're talking about a repeated run. That's not that important. Let's see here. Hold on. Peak torque changes. Here's another one. Muscle tenderness and peak torque changes after downhill running, following a prior bout of isokinetic eccentric exercise. Isokinetic means that something is just in that movement. It's going and going. What do they tell you here again? Unaccustomed exercise, usually of an eccentric nature, is often followed by delayed onset muscle soreness, DOMS. Previous studies have found that prior eccentric activity produces a training effect which reduces DOMS. Yes, prior. Listen to what they say. Previous studies have found that prior eccentric activity produces a training effect that reduces DOMS. It does, because you've adapted. How did you adapt? There's no more damage, so there's no more DOMS. And morphological changes. There are morphological changes. It's called muscle. You're building type 2 muscles to make you faster. The aim of this study is to examine the effects of a prior bout of maximal kinetic, isokinetic, eccentric exercise on DOMS, strength loss, and plasma creatine, on downhill. But once you've adapted, repaired, and remodeled, once you've tapped out all these adaptations, there's not going to be any more damage. Now when you go back to running flat and fast, you're going to be fucking super fucking fast. Like, I mean super fucking fast, bro. So you're going to have more type 2 muscle fibers and more of these nuclei. They're going to make you faster. Yeah, the treatment group performed whatever, eccentric. This is not important either. The results suggest that prior bout of isokinetic eccentric training reduces muscle damage. It does. Reduces the amount of strength loss and decreases the sensation of DOMS after downhill running. It does, because it adapts by repairing and remodeling. Stronger, so it's resilient from further assaults. That's what happens. So here's another one. I don't know if there are any more here. Peak torque after eccentric exercise. There's peak torque. I don't know. So damage. Running economy in humans. I pretty much read all these before. Exercise-induced muscle damage and running economy in humans. Running economy defined as the energy demand for a given velocity of submaximal running has been identified as a critical factor of overall distance running performance. Well, we're not looking for distance as a sprinter. Now, if you're sprinting, if you're also running in 200 meters at the 200 meter or 400 meter run, yeah, you're gonna want to run. If you're doing those, you're gonna need to run downhill 400 meters or 200 meters down a hill, or run as many times as you can down that hill until you adapt to it. That'll still get you ready. Yeah, you don't need to do that really. That'll still get you ready. All the downhill runs that you ran, running down some hills, getting this damage, your muscles will they're adapted already. They're not going to get damaged. They'll still be fast in the 200 relay, the 400, they'll still be fast. So you can still do them. The 100 to 200, the 200, 300, 200, 400, and whatever, 100. You'll still be super fast. You'll be lightning fast. You'll beat everybody. Nobody will be able to compete with you. I'll tell you why they can't compete with you. Because they've never done downhill running. They're not doing any of that. They're not doing any downhill running to get this muscle damage, to get more adaptations. They're just running flat and fast. Look at their training courses. They're always in a stadium on a flat and fast run. They're never running on down. They're never doing any downhill running. That's why they're not progressing. They've all adapted. They've all plateaued. All of them have plateaued. You're not going to plateau. You're gonna bust through that barrier. So here's what else do they tell you about this running downhill. Repeated bout effect attenuates changes in indirect markers of muscle damage and blunts changes in RE. Yeah, can't do that. They talk about it again. This isometric preconditioning blunts exercise-induced muscle damage. Preconditioning does blunt it, but does not attenuate changes in running economy following downhill running. This isn't really important either. The markers, again, it appears that mechanisms involving the changes in markers of muscle damage and parameters associated with RE following downhill running are not completely shared. Okay, whatever. That's not important either. I don't know. I was looking for another one, but I can't find it right now. Muscle damage protective effect by 2 maximal isometric. It is. You could say it's protective, yeah. Protective effect by 2 maximal isometric contractions on maximal eccentric exercise, elbow flexors, or collateral arm. Well, we don't need that. We're just looking for running. This is not important. Yeah. I guess that would be it there, man. I gotta look for some other ones. Hold on. I don't know if there are other good ones here. Repeated bout effect delayed, temporary pattern repeated effect. This would be NCBI, delayed onset muscle soreness. No, I don't need those. The repeated bout effect downhill running attenuated perceived muscle soreness may modulate the physiological and perceived physical demand of a second bout of level and downhill running. Keywords: delayed onset muscle soreness, running downhill. It's you see, it's all applied. Running and bodybuilding, they're all kind of like the same stuff, really. People may not understand that, but it is. Is running downhill an eccentric exercise? Of course it is. Downhill running is an eccentric exercise, which means that muscle lengthening under load, plus you need to apply. When they talk about myonuclei precedes hypertrophy not lost on detraining, they call that load. Load is not based on the concentric exercise. The load that you're taking is in the eccentric. That's when damage happens in load exercises, loading. And then you get damaged, you get, the progenitor, it'll donate its nuclei, whatever. Which means that muscles lengthen under load. They do lengthen under load. They don't lengthen under concentric exercises. They lengthen under eccentric load. Plus, you need to apply a braking force to control the momentum that is created by the downhill itself. This is in contrast to uphill running, which is concentric exercise, where the muscles shorten during the contraction. Yeah, that's why it's associated with damage, and it's associated with remodeling faster, more type 2 muscle fibers. Yeah, may repetitive downhill running lead to what? Well, does it? Due to its eccentric nature, downhill running induces lower limb muscle damage. It does manifest by alterations. The alterations in muscle structure. There will be alterations in muscle structure, muscle function, and ensuing running performance for up to 7 days after exercise. Listen to what they said: 7 days. It'll disrupt your running for 7 days. That is the repair and the remodeling phase. Maybe you don't understand that. I don't know. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but you need to go through that, and you need to be in positive nitrogen balance to repair and remodel those muscles. Otherwise, you get an apoptosis. Here's another one. Repeated bout effect downhill running. There is a consensus in the literature that the repeated bout effect of the same downhill running protocol attenuates. Yeah, it does attenuate. Because it's adapted now. By how? By repairing and remodeling stronger. It's resilient from further assaults. It got more type 2 muscle fibers. The post-exercise increase in circulating creatine kinase activity, myoglobulin concentration, and markers of oxidative stress reduced in magnitude, whatever. Recovery of loss of maximal voluntary contraction. That's why. There's a little map here. See this guy running down the hill? Oh, he's using a machine though. I don't know how they're doing that on a machine. I didn't even know it went the opposite direction. What is the repeated bout effect in eccentric exercise? Well, the repeated bout effect, RE, describes the phenomenon of an initial unaccustomed eccentric exercise. ECC bout can confer a protective effect against muscle damage from the subsequent same exercise. That's why people are doing the same exercises in gyms. And people who are running flat and fast in sprinting in a stadium are doing the same exercises. So there's no more damage, and if there's no more damage, there are no more adaptations. You understand me? No damage, no more adaptations. So how do you overcome, let's say you have a plateau, you run like under 9 minutes, whatever. Or sorry, 9 seconds. You run under 9 seconds or whatever, fucking 9 seconds, the 100 meters. So you reach the plateau, you can't bust through it. How do you do it? Running downhill. You need more adaptations to bust through that plateau. The protection has been observed in the same muscle as well as the collateral hypogeos, whatever, CLRB, whatever, E muscle, whatever, who cares? That shit's not important. But there you go. So it's the protective effect. Protective effect. This is kind of interesting. I like this stuff. I'm gonna save these. But yeah, man, I don't know what else to say in that video. I was gonna bring out something else, but I forgot. I think that's it, really. There's not really much to say here. Yeah, I don't know how much there is to say here. Repeated bout effect, lower extremity, biomechanics. Yeah, it's repeated bout effect, downhill running. I don't know if I can, there's one I'm trying to look for. I don't know if I can find it. I can't remember what it was. The repeated bout effect influence low extremity biomechanics. Yeah, I don't know if I can find it now. I had it up here one time before and I seemingly can't find it. Downhill running increases markers of muscle damage and impairs maximal. Yeah. I don't know. I can't find it right now. I'm sorry. We just talked about this one, didn't we? Here's another one. Effects of unaccustomed downhill running on muscle damage. So the same thing. They've done a test. The purpose of this study was to investigate the effects of unaccustomed downhill running on muscle damage. Yeah, I already know that. Although the link between exercise and induced muscle damage, okay, yeah. I think we talked about this in the last one. It's not important. Let me see if they have any follow-ups here, because usually they follow up with stuff here when it comes to running. Again, they always tell you unaccustomed. Unaccustomed eccentric exercise is currently known to different responses. It does the muscle damage. Muscle, if you get damaged in a race, it'll impair your performance in that race. That's why you want to do as many unaccustomed exercise in sprinting that you can, whether it's in a gym, running downhill, jumping down, a bunch of these exercises, so that you can be super fast and have as many adaptations as possible. That will prevent you from losing any race, and it'll prevent you from getting damaged in that race and then you losing the race, because that's what happens to a lot of runners. They don't realize that because they have poor coaches. They have shitty coaches that don't understand this. Look, you could call me a bodybuilder or a lifter, all right? Whatever you want to call me, a bodybuilder. But I learned everything through bodybuilding, and bodybuilding is associated with strength, power, speed, and performance. You understand me? It's the same thing when it comes to running. It's associated with strength, power, speed, and performance. That's what muscle damage is associated with. Strength, power, speed, and performance. Real bodybuilding is associated with that. Fake bodybuilding is not associated with that. Real bodybuilding is associated with being a faster runner and a bunch of stuff. That's the whole point. You understand me? You're training to build type 2 muscle fibers, which are permanent. They'll make you faster. And you'll get a donation of these nuclei and a bunch of stuff to push that domain. You understand me? And try to stay as lean as you can as possible. So eat a natural diet. Don't eat all these fake, sugary, drug-induced, and don't eat any plants because they're toxic. They'll fuck your performance. They'll screw up your performance, okay? Don't eat plants, they're toxic and all this. Don't drink alcohol. Don't do any of that. Don't drink cigarettes. Don't do any of these things. Eat fucking natural animal products. A lot of animal fat, animal protein, herbivore, preferably herbivore animals, and seafood is really good for you. High fats, more fat, seafood, fatty fish, whatever. Eat a lot of that's good for you. And eat really clean water. And I mean clean, like triple, double filtered if you have to, if you live in the city. Filter your shower, filter everything, bro. It'll affect your performance. You want to perform. If it affects your performance is fucked. You won't be fast, you won't be good, you won't win. It's really simple. I don't know what else to say in that video. I'll try to do more stuff on running. So tell me what you think about that stuff that I mentioned, and yeah, comment down below. I'll see you in the next video. Ciao, friends, all right? I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.